Hey everybody, it's Willie the Composer. Things have been a little bit crazy around here. I'm graduating in 2 days, and it's Wednesday morning, and yeah, tomorrow my parents are coming to visit, so this apartment has to be clean. So I've been cleaning a lot in these, bursts of energy, and then I take a couple hours where I kind of jerk around and do nothing. So I figured I'll whip out the camera and make a video. I was gonna make a video earlier in the week. It was gonna be a flat earth video, but it was a lot of work, so it's not coming out just yet. But I can't leave you guys hanging. I mean, it's been, like 5 days since I uploaded. I need to put something up. So, yeah. So we're gonna do one of those old-fashioned style videos where I just kind of walk around and stare at the camera and just blabber on until I feel like I've said enough about the subject matter. The title of today's video is, I'm religious, but I'm not spiritual. Willie, what the heck does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It kind of requires me telling my life story, at least from one point of view. See, the first church I ever went to was called the Byzantine Catholic Church. And apparently it's also known by the name of the Greek Catholic Church. They're not Roman Catholic, but they are Catholic, so they like the Pope, but they don't do certain things. Like, we weren't too fond of rosary beads. I mean, we did them, but certain traditions just weren't the same. When we crossed ourselves like this, instead of like this. I know. It's an important difference. That's between Roman Catholic and any kind of Eastern Catholic that you might hear of, like Greek Catholic or Byzantine Catholic. Apparently, the history of it is that a bunch of poor Slavic people, known as Rusins, who were living in the Carpathian Mountains of western Ukraine. They were followers of the Orthodox Church, as was common in Eastern Europe, and is still common in Eastern Europe today. Now, whether they were Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox, they were Orthodox, and their prayer books were all in Slovak and everything. But I guess the Catholic Church kind of came along and was like, hey guys, if you guys leave the Orthodox Church and call yourselves Catholics, we'll let you practice pretty much like the exact same religion. You just call yourselves Catholics now, and you get all the benefits of the papacy. So the Western Ukrainians were like, hell yeah, and then they joined the Catholic Church and they became Catholics. Not really Catholics. They're not, like I said, not Roman Catholics. They're Greek Catholics, but we called ourselves Byzantine Catholics. It's the same thing. It's all the same shit. But the church services were like a Greek Orthodox service. It was the same service every Sunday, read out of a book, and you just go through the book, and the priest, who, by the way, didn't have to be celibate. Unlike the Roman Catholics, Greek Catholic priests don't have to be celibate. The priest would do all the readings, and the choir would respond in song, and it would just be a whole sing-song fest. Same thing every week. And then the only thing that changed from week to week was there would be a reading from the Gospels, and what the reading would be and what book of the Gospels it would be from would change from week to week. So that was always a fun little thing. We used to place bets on whether it was going to be from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But yeah, that was a fun church. I was baptized in it. I took my first communion in it, the whole deal. I don't know if I went through confirmation. I don't think I did, but I did take First Communion, which is a big step in committing yourself to the Greek Catholic Church. This church, by the way, this is the church this isn't some church we joined. This was the church of my ancestors, This is a church they brought with them from overseas, We were our family, the Sochkos, that's my last name, was one of many families who moved from Eastern Europe to Western Pennsylvania to become coal miners, and and they would set up their little churches and follow the same religion. So it was the religion of my ancestors, you know, on my dad's side. My mom's side, they're Protestants, but that's a different story. So I was kind of going to that church, you know, because of my dad, you know, because that was his family religion and the whole deal. And I was kind of learning from them, you know, about religion, about Jesus, about Christianity, about God, about sin, you know, and we had confession and all that deal, you know. I have positive memories of it. I went to catechism, which is like Sunday school. It's like Catholic Sunday school, but I just called it Sunday school, you know. But yeah, so you have a little Sunday school, and then we go to the adult church service, and the priest would have this really, really heavy, like, Polish or Slovak or Russian accent, you know, and I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying, but, you know. Then my parents got divorced, and that was a whole another adventure in my life, and that whole story is for another day. But I, just like most kids whose parents get divorced, ended up living with my mom, not my dad. So my dad stayed back in the town where I grew up, and I went and moved away with my mom, and she was seeing this new guy who she eventually married, who's my stepdad now. And I ended up going to stepdad's church instead, which was not a Catholic church of any kind. It was a Methodist church. Now, Methodists are pretty much the quintessential Protestants, at least in America. It's like, picture like church, what you think church is, whether you're familiar with it or not. That's what it is. It was a typical American church experience. Different service every week, different hymns, which by the way I loved because they were in like English. but and I could understand what the pastor was saying. So I did enjoy the musical aspect of the whole thing. But the church aspect was just so boring. And, you know, they didn't drink actual wine for communion. They had, like, Welch's grape juice. It's a beautiful thing, American Protestant churches. That's pretty much it. That was my new experience with church, is that it was boring, didn't make sense to me, and, I mean, it was every bit as religious in its practices and what they did all the time. You know, you had to do everything in a certain way. I mean, the Greek Catholic Church, the Byzantine Catholic Church I went to, it was just, you know, everything was choreographed to a T. You know what I mean? And if you forgot to do an extra Hail Mary, you forgot to cross yourself at a certain time, you could be like, oh crap, and then do it real fast. You know, it was that kind of thing. Methodist Church was a little more free, but everybody there was old. Which is, you know, kind of a thing. Young people don't go to church in America. As old people fill the churches. It's just gray hair, a sea of gray heads. But, you see, my stepdad was a lay minister, which, in case you're not familiar with, that's the person who fills in for the pastor when the pastor's away. So he had the ability to write whole sermons and deliver them. And honestly, he was better at writing and giving sermons than our normal pastor. Really, he was pretty good preacher. He could have just been a preacher, honestly. But because in the Methodist Church you're allowed to have a wife and kids and be a preacher. But yeah, so he could have just been a preacher. So my experience of church went from being something that really didn't make sense and I didn't really understand that much about God and Jesus. I knew all the Bible stories by heart, because that's what we were taught as kids, Bible stories. I didn't really know what it meant, what it was about, what church really was, what Christianity even really was. I didn't understand the sacrifice of Jesus, you know, and what that means. Methodist Church, I did learn that, but it wasn't a church that I really liked going to. It might have just been because I was older, you know. I just got older, so I started to understand what they meant, you know, what the whole Jesus thing was really all about. It wasn't really interesting to me. I wasn't really digging it. It wasn't really all that cool to me. But essentially what I picked up, right, from the Methodist Church is God created man and woman, right, in a perfect, peaceful, beautiful paradise. Then they break God's one rule So they have committed the original sin, you see. And their punishment is they're cast aside from the garden. They're going to have a ton of babies now. They have to go through childbirth. They have to work to earn things in life. They have to eat and drink and the whole deal. And so now we're screwed for all time. But what you get with Christianity is this guy named Jesus comes along, and this Jesus guy is like crazy. He's like a perfect human who like never does anything wrong. He's like the perfect guy. You know, you can't even really joke about him. You know, he's just awesome in every way. You know, and that's because he is God. But he's also the Son of God. But God's not a person, but he is a person, but he is God. It's real simple, okay? And and Jesus was kind of stirring up trouble, gaining a following and everything like that. Really wasn't stirring up trouble, like trying to make no trouble, trying to start no trouble. He didn't want to hurt anybody, but, you know, people around there, the Jewish authorities, felt kind of threatened by the following he was getting, so they're like, no, and then they have him killed. So Jesus makes the ultimate sacrifice by surrendering his life, or God gives up his one and only Son. So God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son, that we may not perish but have eternal life. Right, so now we can go to heaven because Jesus took all the punishment for us. We're all damned sinners, and we're all screwed, and we're all going to hell. But if we accept the sacrifice of Jesus, then we can get into heaven. And that's just Christianity. If you believe in the sacrifice of Jesus, and you accept his sacrifice, you're a Christian, right? And you should be going to heaven, honestly, as long as you repent of your sins. And that's really all the Methodists ask of you. You know, the whole purpose of going to church is just to, you know, community and, you know, spread the good word and do good deeds. And to gain a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, where like every night you're just like, hey, Jesus, what's happening, man? Well, I'll tell you what's going on in my life. It's real fucked up. You got to hear about it. So, yeah. I kind of, honestly, as a kid, I wasn't super interested in it. I wasn't super into it, but I was a Christian and I did believe. And I was wholeheartedly, I'm talking maybe 9, 10, 11 years old. I was into it. Like I was a Christian. I didn't devote myself to it or anything, but I really was, you know. I really was the kind of person. I just accepted the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, you know, because through him and only through him may we not perish but have eternal life. I thought that was pretty neat. And then I started to get older, and I got smarter in certain ways, not in other ways. In other ways I got dumber. But I did start thinking about things and, you know, becoming intellectually interested in stuff and philosophical arguments and things like that, and the search for God within oneself. I used to stay up late at night for like hours after I would lay in bed and just like fucking look up at the ceiling and just like talk about like what it all means, what life's about, what's the meaning of life. I discovered the meaning of life when I was like 12. I had it figured out. It was to reproduce. You know, the purpose of life is to continue to maintain the existence of life. That's it. And that was when I was a Christian, you know. But what happened was I started really getting into spirituality and digging the whole spiritual scene. And I was listening to the Beatles. Well, I was always listening to the Beatles, but now I was really listening with purpose. And George Harrison songs like Within You, Without You, and Love You Too, and, you know, The Inner Light. Songs like that, man. The George Harrison Beatles songs would really spoke to me, and I felt like that connection with like that spiritual side. That kind of thing the Eastern religions had that the Western religions didn't. Where Western religions became religion for the sake of religion, and if you want to, you can find a little spirituality in there and an actual connection with a higher purpose and, you know, greater being who's looking out for you, who created you. Whereas in the East, it's all about that spiritual connection. And the religious practice is just, you know, helping to maintain the spiritual connection. You see, it's reversed. And no, by Eastern, I'm not talking about Islam. Islam is just as stupidly religious as Christianity and Judaism. I'm talking about like Buddhism and Hinduism. But yeah, so the Eastern religions are real neat, and I love that spiritual connection. And I started coming to all these crazy little theories in my head about what God was. God is the universe. God fills the whole universe. I am God. We are all God. God is humanity. God is the human condition. God is some kind of magical energy, the breath of life, the spirit, the soul that fills nothing but just pointless matter and gives it meaning and gives it a being and gives it intellectual thought and emotions and allows it to create art and music and poetry and just to captivate the minds of one another. It's God is when we're in a trance, in a state, when the whole world around us we stop examining it from a logical standpoint, and we can really just move with the vibe and just feel the presence of the Lord. That's what the Holy Spirit is. That's the third piece of the Trinity. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit was always the most mysterious. You see, I understood the Father, right? Father had a set of rules that you should listen to. But the Son made it easier on you so that you could get a get out of jail free card, because he already took the punishment for you. You just have to accept the punishment. But the Spirit, that was where it's at. The Holy Spirit, or the Holy Ghost. It's like mysterious. It's mystical. It's the old, the older side of religion, where religion was born out of spirituality. You know what I mean? That connection to the Almighty, to the energy of the universe, and collective consciousness that we all share, where we can all make things move with just our minds. It was all bullshit, but I liked it. I was so into it. And that's kind of how I spent my teenage years, and that's how I rationalized my beliefs. And really, Christianity started to really dog me, man. I was getting so sick of the religion. I was getting so sick of the practices, so sick of attending church, and so sick of listening to stupid sermons. And I did like singing the songs because I like music. But if it weren't for that, I would have hated singing the hymns too. But it was just a whole groove, man, and of the spirituality. But the spirituality side was just something so different and so exciting and so fresh, and something they never talked about in church. What they talked about in church was how to be a good person, how to do as Jesus did, what these verses mean, how we should interpret them, the lessons we should learn. I didn't care about learning lessons, man. I was old enough. I had the world figured out when I was 13. I didn't need to learn any more lessons. I wanted to have that special connection, that spiritual relationship, where I could feel like even in my darkest hour, when I was scared, when I was afraid something was going to happen to me, because when we're teenagers, we get these feelings like we're going to die, like we're just, everything's coming to an end, like we're just so screwed, and that's what makes us so ambitious when we're kids, but it also makes us really scared shitless and emotionally empty on the inside. So religion, but not religion, but spirituality was kind of my bridge to that, where I could come up with all these cool little ideas about what God is or what God was, or even if you toss aside the whole ridiculousness of Christianity, man, there's something, man. There's some connection. There's some great, beautiful, thing that just fills us all and gives us all that great animation that is the experience of our consciousness. So that was where I was at when I was 14, 15. And then I went to church camp. And I don't know what you think of when you hear about church camp or Bible camp or whatever. It changed my fucking life. It was the most beautiful experience. I don't know if they had the right people, if we were doing the right things, but the first day we were all strangers in our mid-teens, boys and girls, super awkward. You maybe knew one kid from school. I knew one kid from school, and I knew my sister, and that was it. Everybody else was a total stranger to me. And you know, we were all strangers to each other, and it was really hard to get us to start breaking the ice and opening up to each other. But like within 5 days, by like the end of the week, it was just a love fest. We were a beautiful community. It was amazing, and it wasn't religious. It wasn't religious at all. We barely, I mean, we had a schedule, but there was, you know, you didn't have to do anything. It was all nice and fun and voluntary, and there would be prayers all the time, and we would sing hymns all the time, except they were cool, like acoustic guitar hymns, you know, not organ hymns. But it was just like a groovy, fun experience, and I felt like I belonged, and each person, like, we all opened up to each other, and we didn't see each other in the way that teenagers tend to see other people, which is like sexual organs with these awkward human characteristics attached to them. No, we saw like the inner beautiful soul of each other, and it was like some great spiritual connection that we all shared, and I said, man, I don't even care. There has to be a God. Like it's just so beautiful. Like the whole experience is just so beautiful, and I just felt like there's something really amazing going on here, and I can't explain it. And I don't think anybody can. You know, no matter what they do, they can't explain it. And that was church camp. So now I'm 15. And, well, the next chapter in my religious history is I start listening to my dad's CDs. I start finding some of my dad's CDs of Frank Zappa. And I start getting into Frank Zappa. And Frank Zappa fucking red-pilled me on religion. I listened to a song of his called Dumb All Over. Some of you guys are Frank Zappa fans, and you may be familiar with Dumb All Over. But if you're not, Frank Zappa, Z-A-P-P-A, Dumb All Over. Listen to it. I may be overselling it, but to my 15-year-old self, when I listened to Dumb All Over by Frank Zappa, I was just like... At first I was just laughing and giggling at how shockingly offensive it was. But when I really listened to it and really thought about it in my philosophical teenage brain, I was like, wow, he's got a point, you know? Nerds on the left, nerds on the right, religious fanatics over here every night saying the Bible tells a story and makes the details sound real gory about what to do when the geeks over there don't believe in the book we got over here. You see, he made this book here, and in this book it says he made us all to be just like him. Well, if we're dumb, then God is dumb, and maybe even a little bit ugly on the side. It's pretty cool. It's pretty wicked. But and then as I started looking into atheism, I started to see that all the idols, all the people I held up as like heroes of mine, from John Lennon, Frank Zappa, and then John Lennon, and everybody in Monty Python, and Harry Nilsson, and like they were all atheists. Like not just like, not Christians, not theists, not even deists. They were straight atheists. They did not believe in God, and some of them were even quite open about their beliefs. And I started really getting into John Lennon's solo career, because before I'd been just like a Beatles guy, I started getting into John Lennon's solo career, and that song God on the end of the Plastic Ono Band album, which is his first solo album, unless you count two versions, which I don't. It's like God is a concept by which we measure our pain. Like, ooh, couldn't have said it better myself. No, I really couldn't have said it better myself. That's amazing. God is a concept by which we measure our pain. And that line has been interpreted and reinterpreted a million times since the song came out. But no, it's true. God is a concept by which we measure our pain. And I don't think you really have to look into that deeply or really examine it that deeply. I think he was kind of saying what he meant, is that God is not real, God is not a thing, God is not like an actual thing in our lives. God is a concept. God exists in the same way that concepts exist. Like, I don't know, like God exists in the way that responsibility exists, or in the way that chivalry exists, or in the way that God exists in the way that beauty exists. It's a concept, and the only meaning that they're not a real tangible thing. And even a Christian will tell you that. They exist kind of in a way that they only exist if we give them meaning, right? In the same way that Santa is real to a little kid, God is real to someone who believes and worships God. That's all there is to it. It's a concept. And then you get the second part, by which we measure our pain. By which we measure our pain. Yes! Because what kind of concept is God? God is a concept created to help us understand all the pain and suffering in the world. Spirituality is your connection with that God, right? And religion is just a set of organized practices that you do every now and then to help you be reminded of that spiritual connection. But usually what religion ends up doing is it ends up losing the meaning it was meant to help it enforce in the first place, which is why most people end up saying, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, that whole thing. And then at this point in my life, I was in high school and I would go to church, but it meant absolutely nothing to me. Like, I really stopped being a Christian pretty soon after I started learning about atheism, and that there were really smart people that I really looked up to that didn't believe in God. But I wasn't an atheist. I refused to let myself be an atheist. I didn't want to be an atheist. I didn't want to say, no, there's no God, or not that there's no God, but that I don't believe in a God. I didn't even want to say that I didn't believe in a God, because I still got kind of a kick out of that spiritual connection. That whole beautiful, that whole beautiful connection you can get from being spiritually with God, that there is a God somehow. I went from being a Christian to a theist to a deist to I just slowly got less and less religiously specific, until eventually by the time I went to college, I was no longer filling out Christian on forms about religious. I would write other Christian, or other, or even non-religious. Because I wasn't religious, I was spiritual. That's the cool way to be, Then college happened. And that didn't go so well, so I tried college again, and that went a lot better, which is why I'm graduating in 2 days. But in the second college, the college I went to now, where I don't live in a dorm, I live in an apartment, and I actually have to pay for shit with my own money, and if I run out of money, I'm screwed, and I have to buy my own groceries and everything. And if I end up broke, no more groceries to buy. Better hope you bought enough ramen. That's kind of the situation I'm in now, actually. I've been starving myself, but and when I say starving myself, I don't mean I'm about to die. I mean I eat a meal a day, but you don't lose any weight that way, because your body just retains more of what you eat, so that you don't lose as much weight. Your metabolism slows down to compensate. So I'm not even getting any benefits from weight loss from starving myself. I may as well be eating like a pig, honestly. One of the things that college did for me that's the reverse of what it does for most people is this. When most people go to college, they're family people, they're maybe a little bit conservative, they don't even realize they're conservative, but they are, and then college opens their minds to all kinds of crazy stuff, and drugs, and alcohol, and sex, and partying, and all that nonsense. It was the reverse for me. You see, where most people come to college conservative and leave liberal, they come to college, straight from the 50s, with their Leave It to Beaver button-down t-shirts and haircuts and everything, and then they leave hippies and they're protesting Vietnam. I did the opposite. I've been protesting Vietnam since I was 5, dude. Coming to college and having to learn to actually manage my own money and everything, and also somewhat through getting way into politics from the 2016 election, I became more conservative. I started moving further to the right. Well, to the right, to the camera. To the right. I did. It was weird, dude. I'm still super libertarian on the political compass. We're going to take the political compass test someday so you can see how I answer all the questions and where I end up. Because my results change from month to month, and I've just been moving slowly further and further to the right. Still libertarian, but more libertarian center now. I used to be super libertarian left, but the more I learn about economics and what it actually is and what all the things mean, how is GDP calculated and stuff like that, and how the budget works and all that nonsense, the less left-wing economic policies make sense to me, and the more right-wing economics and conservative economics make sense to me, and I start drifting. I'm this far away from being like Rand Paul, really, or even Ron Paul. God bless him, he can still win. No, but yeah, man, it's through this conservative journey that I started to take a second look at family values and traditions. And when I say family values, I don't mean anti-gay marriage, because if you think about it, gay marriage is pro-family values. You're encouraging people to settle down, to make a commitment with another person in their life, and to have a family, and to have that financial security and stability. You want more people to get married. Just because, I'm detached from the religious end of it, because that's the only reason that they're against gay marriage, because of religion. So being detached from that, I'm pro-gay marriage, and more pro-gay marriage the more conservative I get, because I like marriage. Marriage is a great institution. And I'm starting to look at all these things and traditions and the way we do things, because you asked me 3 years ago how I felt about money. In my honest opinion, I thought if I could have my way, there would be no such thing as money. Money would be abolished, which is the ultimate left-wing policy or whatever. But and people would just do things. And if you wanted something done, you would go to somebody, ask for it, and they'd do it for you, because they just do it. That's the ultimate beautiful world, That's as far left as you can get, and as far idiotic and fantastic as you can get. But that would have been my perfect world. Not even then, I wasn't thinking. Even then, it would have been stupid to try and make that happen in real life. But now I'm starting to see the value of the fucking meritocracy, and the beauty. And the beauty of working and earning and making things and having what you have, and because you worked for it and you deserve it, and everybody gets the chance. Everybody gets the chance. We can do a couple things to help give people better chances at earning what they have in life, but you get what you frickin' put into it. And that's how life is and how life should be. It's a beautiful thing the way we have it, with the more you're willing to work and sacrifice, the more successful you'll be in general. Some people work hard and never get anywhere. Some people don't work at all and have tremendous success. But for the most part, you get what you earn. For the most part, in our modern society, because that's the way America does things, and that's why I love this freaking country, and I'm more patriotic than ever. And it's just this weird thing that happened to me where don't get me wrong, I didn't become more religious. I became less and less religious, to the point where not too long ago, a couple years ago, I was willing to come out to people and say, no, I am an atheist. Not to my family, but they'll find out someday. Who cares? It's just the longer I wait to tell them, the better it is, because then I can justify it by being well, actually, I've been an atheist since I was 19. And they're like, what? No, I don't believe in God. And what's weird is that religion, which I used to hate and think was stupid and monotonous and pointless, I started realizing that that was the only thing in our life that had a point, was religious practices. And that anything you do in like your day, it doesn't really serve a direct purpose. It's all just for some arbitrary goal, or just some ritualistic thing that you wake up in the morning and you go to school and you take a shower, and it's all why? Because that's what you're expected to do, because that's what you're supposed to do, because that's what you would normally do. Life is submission to normalcy. That's all it is, dude. And life is religion. Everything you do is religion. Showering every day is a religion. Getting on the computer and watching videos is a religion. Life is religion. Now, religion, like worshiping a god religion, or going to church, that's just another thing to help keep your life in check, because what helps people the most when they're in dire circumstances, where they're facing trouble in their lives, what helps them is normalcy, is returning to something they're familiar with, is familiarity, is that I've been here before, I know what to expect. It's even when we're succeeding, sometimes we would rather not be doing so well if it means that we could at least know what the hell was going on. Because life gets harder when you succeed more, because you don't know what it's like to be successful. Which is why celebrities always go crazy. Unless they were, famous to begin with, and even then they're out of touch, and then they're crazy that way. But yeah, man, life is like, living your life is like practicing a religion. So going to church is just another thing. It's just another thing that you do, Now, I don't get any personal fulfillment out of life from going to church by myself, like living out here in Florida by myself. I don't go to church. I don't care about it, because I don't need that fulfillment. Religion is that fulfillment of that, that return to familiarity that makes you feel better and makes life easier to live. So I don't go to church, but when I go home to visit my family, they go to church, so I go right along with them, and I don't mind it. And if I skip church, I feel bad about it. Why do I feel bad about it? I feel bad about it because that's the life I know with my family, is going to church with them. So I started to actually enjoy it. And now I like going to church, and I like listening to the sermons. I like hearing their opinions about what a good person is, and what those ancient scriptures really do mean, and how we can learn lessons and how to better live our lives. And that whole religious practice is just nice to me, And of course I still love the hymns, I love music. And I know all those old hymns, But the old rugged cross, for the win. But yeah, man, it's such a wonderful experience now. Whereas the spiritual side that I used to really get off in as a teenager, that is vapid and freaking empty to me. The only part of church services that I don't like now are prayer. Because prayer, which is supposed to be the most solemn and thing, the thing that kind of is the reason the whole church exists, is to have a nice, lovely space to pray in peace. Prayer is the cornerstone of any religion, the ultimate spiritual connection with God. That is the least important thing to me. That's the thing I care the least about. Spirituality can go suck a dick. I don't care. This camera will not focus. I don't care at all about freaking spirituality. It's bad for you. It distracts you. It's like this weird emotional thing that gives your life more problems than it takes away. It really isn't a relief. What's a relief is that regular practice, that doing what you're used to when you're used to doing it. That's what I'm talking about. this whole spiritual thing, it's like a crutch. Like you don't need it to live your life. Like prayer does absolutely nothing for anybody, you know? They think it does something for them, but it doesn't. Your pain never goes away. You know, it has no meaning. Life in general really does have no meaning, really. Like, I used to be kind of existentialist about it and be like, you know, life has the meaning that you give to it, but there is no inherent meaning. Now I'm pretty much a nihilist. No, there is no meaning, there is no point. It's all purposeless, it's all senseless. The sooner you come to terms with it, the better off you'll be, really. Reach your existential crisis. Just get to it. Just accept the existential crisis. Every fucking body lives their lives. They either can keep themselves dumb enough that they don't reach the existential crisis, or they reach the existential crisis and maybe they can get out of it by deceiving themselves with religion, or maybe they succumb to it and they die, or maybe they just distract themselves and just return back to their normal lives. No, accept it. It's a beautiful thing. Life is pointless. Life is meaningless. Nihilism is the only true philosophy, really and truly. And there's no reason to believe in God unless you have a reason. If you feel that believing in God helps you, if you feel that being a Christian helps you feel better, helps you live a better life, if you feel that following teachings of an ancient book somehow helps you more than trying to figure things out on your own, God bless you. Beautiful. I'm just telling you, it really is just vapid bullshit. It's all vanity. You ever read the book of Ecclesiastes? That's an Old Testament. If you have a copy of the Bible, actually the Bible's free, you can find it online. Go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Read that sucker. Like at least read the beginning of it, the first couple chapters. It's such a great book. Like, it's my favorite book of the Bible. It just talks about how pointless life is. Like, and how all is vanity. We're all going to die. We're all going to the same place. A man who spends all his life and works hard all his life to accomplish all these great, beautiful, wonderful things will end up in the same ground, rotting away, the same flesh, return to the dust of the earth in the same way as a man who laid on his ass all day and did nothing and was nothing but a beggar his whole life. We're all going to the same place, and it's all pointless, and life doesn't mean a thing. Now, Ecclesiastes does offer a solution that says, then just submit to God, you know. And whatever you do, just accept God, you know. But my answer to that is, don't submit to God unless you want to. But, hey, if you don't want to, then don't. Do what you fucking feel like doing, man. And if you need that normalcy to keep you sane, what is sanity but more the same, stuff you're familiar with? What is insanity but stuff you're not familiar with? You know what I mean? I feel uncomfortable when I walk around big cities. When I go to like Washington, D.C. or like New York or even downtown Orlando or something, I get uncomfortable when I'm walking around there because it's not an environment I'm familiar with that much, you know? But I am familiar with this kind of outer suburban area I'm living in now, but and I'm kind of familiar with the suburbs, and I'm definitely familiar with outback, with the woods, with the wild, with mountains. That's my jam. But to me, like, city life is like insanity, you know. I'm one of those real Americans Sarah Palin was talking about back in 2008, okay? That sounds like it should be a joke, but it's really not. I am like a typical real American, you know, except I'm not religious. But that's why I don't condemn religious people just for being religious. You know what I mean? I don't condemn wrong people for being wrong. They're allowed to be wrong all they want. But all I'm saying is that while they are deluded and wrong, that's okay. I don't need to have that delusion in my life. I prefer to have other delusions in my life. Delusions of grandeur, for example. I prefer to think that someday I'm going to be the most famous person on earth, that people will write about me hundreds of years from now as one of the greatest people who ever lived, that I'll have more subscribers on YouTube than PewDiePie, the whole deal, you know what I mean? That's all going to happen, by the way. These are my delusions that I keep, that I maintain to maintain sanity. because I've reached my existential crisis and I've realized, okay, life is meaningless. Let's move on to the next thing. That's all you gotta do, baby. That's all you gotta do. You know, just accept the nihilism. Accept it. It's the one and only true philosophy. Accept the nihilism. Life is pointless. Life is meaningless. There's nothing you can do about it. But it's alright. Might as well have fun. People say, oh, okay, well, you think life is pointless and life is meaningless, then why don't you just kill yourself? And my answer to that is, why kill myself? If there's no purpose, then there's no reason. So, if I don't have a reason to kill myself, why would I kill myself? I actually have a reason to keep living because I have these delusions of grandeur that I want to try and somehow attain, and I'm not going to get there by killing myself, so why would I kill myself? You see, we all have delusions in our life. We're all delusional. That's what keeps us sane. That's what keeps us from realizing how truly and utterly chaotic and disorganized and disordered and how little sense anything around us makes. Like literally, like the only limitations that exist are the laws of physics. And even those are descriptive, not prescriptive, meaning we're kind of trying to describe how the universe works, but we can't set the rules for how it does work. And we find the further we go down on the quantum level, the less the laws we thought work. So we come up with new ones, and then those stop even working. You know, it's all freaking pointless and meaningless, so you might as well just enjoy the ride. And when the insanity becomes too much, find normalcy. Find a return to normalcy. And find a delusion. Find something that you can use to keep yourself going. I don't just have delusions of grandeur either. I have other delusions too, like I'm going to accomplish other things. Like I will lose weight someday, eventually. I will have a girlfriend someday, and I'll get married, and I'll have a son, and my son's name will be Walter Sachko. Willie is my name. My son will be Wally. It'll be Willie and Wally. And don't tell me that's stupid, because I think it's adorable, and I think it's awesome, and I think even as an adult he'll appreciate it, even if he doesn't understand it. But yeah. You gotta do that. You have to lie to yourself. You have to delude yourself. And if somebody tries to freaking tell me, I don't lie to myself, I don't delude myself, I'm not like that. No, you are. Because that in itself is a delusion. We all lie to ourselves, we all delude ourselves, otherwise we'd be insane. You can't truly become aware of the state of the universe around you, because try to think about that. Your consciousness is nothing. Your consciousness is nothing. It is garbage. It is bullshit. Consciousness in itself is nothing but a concept. You are freaking it's nuts. It's nuts. What you think is your consciousness, that's just fucking chemical input from your sensory organs, making you aware of your surroundings. And because we're humans, because we've evolved to a certain point, now we can carry recollections of our surroundings and things that our sensory organs have recorded before. And we can even take those further and create situations in our mind like that. And we can think about that, and we can ruminate on that, and we have language to help us express our thoughts, and we can create more concepts, and we can go further. And we can build entire philosophies. It's all bullshit. As Ecclesiastes says, it's all vanity and it's all worth nothing. As you look out, and nothing is worth anything under the sun. It's all nothing. It's all pointless. You're just a bunch of sensory inputs. That's who you think you are? That's what you think your soul is? No, sensory inputs. But Willie, what are emotions then? Fucking sensory inputs. Fucking, I'm not a scientist. I can't fucking describe it, but I can like understand it. I can't describe it though, because I don't have the kind of technological kind of terminology. You know, neurotransmitters communicating with each other. It's pointless. There's no consciousness. There's not more to you than just the fucking flesh, than the fucking little beautiful molecules that make you up. That's it. That's it, baby. That's it. That's all you got. It's all pointless. It's all nothing. Realize it. Come to terms with it. Spirituality is complete and total bullshit. If you need it, because you need a delusion in your life to help you get through life, to help you return to that normalcy, to that regularness, to that practice, go ahead and run to spirituality. But I'm just telling you it's bullshit, okay? It's all bullshit. Everything's bullshit. Really and truly. And that's okay. That's okay. Okay? It's alright, man. It's gonna be fine. Live your life the way you want to live it, baby. Make your own delusions in life. You know, I would say give your life a meaning, but even that meaning isn't really meaning at all. There is no meaning. It's all pointless. It's all pointless, baby. Just... all is vanity and worthless under the sun. I know the things I say could be depressing if you think about them, but it doesn't have to be. Oh, God. No, it's really insane. It's really insane. If you get down to it, it's... just don't think about it. Just take the... just like, don't take too many red pills, is all I'm saying. You take one every now and then, but every now and then, you gotta take your daily blue pill to keep you from going over the edge. You know, you can't really see how things are, because if you really see how things are, you start to, you know, lose insanity. I've been saying the same shit like 7 times, 8 times in a row, but I'm really trying to hammer these points home. So, yeah. I have no idea how long this video is, because for some reason in this record mode it won't show me the timer, but even if it's like a fucking hour, I don't even care. I'm uploading it all. And most people won't see it until the end. They're gonna have to sit through my whole boring life story before they even get to the point where I actually make the points that I meant to make with this video. But no, religion's a good thing. Be religious, practice your stupid religion. It really does help you. Spirituality, it's bullshit. I have no connection to bullshit. Oh my God. Nobody's gonna watch this far. Everybody's gonna tune out with my freaking life story. Nobody's gonna watch the full point of the video. Whatever. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for listening to my ramble. I hope you get my ideas, because I've been holding them in for a long time and just never took the initiative to put them out there. God. Yo guys, you ever watch DeFranco? I do. I don't watch him like all the time or every day or anything. I do watch him occasionally. I'm just subscribed to him, and every now and then a video of his will come up and I'll be like, okay, I'll see it. But what cracks me up about his channel is his titles. It's not that they're clickbait or anything. It's just like, he has the funniest freaking titles I've ever seen. Like look at this. We need to talk about this because it's getting ridiculous, dangerous, and scary. It's like, they're always this over-dramatic shit, like, people are freaking out, CNN exposed and controversial, it's always the most funny, like, no, it's not just getting ridiculous, because if it was getting ridiculous, we might need to talk about it just then. But no, it's also getting dangerous. Guys, things are getting dangerous. We need to talk about things that are dangerous. No. Scary. Things are, now it's getting even scary, because it's ridiculous, then it was dangerous, and now it's scary. Guys, we need to talk about this. Because it's getting dangerous, ridiculous, and scary. Like, I don't know if another person on earth finds that as funny as I do, but I fucking find it funny. Like, calm down, Phil. Calm down, man. It's gonna be alright. No, guys, we need to talk about this because it's getting ridiculous, dangerous, and scary. Has anybody noticed that? Like his video titles? It's like, Phil, it's gonna be alright, man.